to do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing all across this great land and around the world? It's that time. Certainly is. It's Conservative Syndicate time. And we're here on a lovely Friday out here in California. Just beautiful weather out here in California. I don't know how it is where you're at, but we're doing pretty good out here. Low humidity, nice sunshine at about 75 degrees. Boy, if it was like this all the time, this would be just pure heaven. With the exception, of course, that we've got leftists out here just screwing everything up they put their hands to. But that's another story for another day. I am your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos from Dry Report. How are you doing tonight, Joe?
I am doing wonderful, John. And once again, the Conservative Syndicate has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. And the Conservative Syndicate is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease, unless that disease is liberalism.
We make no claims one way or the other how this show will affect you. We just guarantee you that it will. That's basically how we think on this show.
Does. Yes.
So, you may find yourself going through what I call the Oz syndrome. Well, there's no place like home. Or no, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, and I got something for you and your little dog too, Missy. Nancy Pelosi was here.
I'll get you and your little dog too.
Yeah,
Yes.
flying monkeys.
Well, we have, being Friday, we have I think a pretty good show lined up for you today. We're going to do some little review. Okay, if you've been listening to us all week, today's going to be a little bit review. Pop quiz. We're going to do a little review and see how much you remember what's going on. And then we're going to talk about an issue that really nobody wants to talk about, but I'm just seeing all over cyberspace today. Or actually, in the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing it. And I've just been collecting articles, and in the last 48 hours, just the internet has just been inundated with articles about none other than the illustrious legacy of Barack Obama, known as Obamacare. And we've heard the term death spiral used more than once in reference to this travesty called Obamacare. And it looks like it is well into the death row, and maybe that's why the media is not covering it to the degree that it is. We're not getting any mainstream media stuff. I'm finding things all over the internet from companies that talk about finance and investments and things like that. And some of the leftist rags like Investors Business Daily, which is strongly slanted left. One of the other ones, Wall Street Journal, and the Christian Science Monitor. And these people are constantly in defense of Barack Obama's policies, in particular dealing with health care and taxes. And even they're out there saying, uh-oh, we got a problem. The red flag is up. It's not enough that the website doesn't work. It's that the program doesn't work. And so we're going to talk about that as much time as we can do. We're going to allocate that at the bottom of the hour when Bob Cardoza from Robert Cardoza Live joins us for his weekly segment with us. And other than that, we're going to talk about the Syrian situation, not so much Syrian refugee situation directly, but the attack, or there was another attack over in Africa, Mali, Africa, yesterday, in which there were 100 hostages taken. 22 of them were executed before they were able to get their hands on the terrorists. These people claimed to be from Al-Qaeda. So I don't know if ISIS and Al-Qaeda is synonymous in terms of their relationship between each other. I think they're actually competitors.
Well, it doesn't really matter to me. To me, they're Islamic terrorists.
Right.
So you had the Waffen-SS and the Gestapo. Yeah, they were still Nazis.
Yeah, and like I said, the only difference and really when we talk about Islamic radicals, what we're talking about is their own little infrastructure. You've got Al-Qaeda who wants to rule the world. You've got ISIS that wants to rule the world. And you've got nations that are partaking in all this, like Syria, that want to rule the world. So they have their own little competition going. And I guess Al-Qaeda was upset that they didn't get any of the glory for the Paris attacks. So they went out and did their own. But we're going to kind of float some stuff at you today. Speculation. There's going to be a lot of speculation because I'm on the early end of research on this stuff. But we're going to talk about some numbers. And we're just going to talk about, what's going on here as far as Barack Obama's setbacks in his great foreign policy in terms of everything else. And I want to also, if those of you out there have not done so, check out my Facebook page, okay? If you go to facebook.com/Conservative Syndicate, you'll find a page there. Actually, that's my timeline. And one of the things I noted today, it was an article about Obama. He's out on the school campus somewhere touting another one of his great programs or whatever it is he's talking about himself, certainly. And I guess some student made a reference to his graying hair. And, there seems to be a big obsession with the media talking about Obama's hair turning gray since he came into office. But they, in fairness, they do that with other presidents also. But it dawned on me as I'm looking at a picture of him talking to the student or responding to the student that his hair is extremely gray right now. He kind of looked like Uncle Ben on Uncle Ben's converted rice box. And I remember just seeing him 2 days ago in the Philippines at the APEC convention, and it wasn't that gray. So lo and behold, I just went out and I pulled up some photos, and lo and behold, this guy has aged so much in 2 days. Well, the claim he was making to this child is that he doesn't dye his hair. And so I'm like, well, I've always called it the DEFCON code. He has a DEFCON code of gray hair. In real crises, it's gray. Or when he's out trying to portray his tireless, effortless work to fix everything that's wrong with America, he's really gray. When he's in front of foreign dignitaries and stuff like that, he's got the mojo look. He's back to, Shaft.
No, that's not mojo. That's Mac Daddy look.
Yeah, Mac Daddy. There you go, the Mac Daddy look. So I posted that. I posted the comparison on my Facebook page today. You make your own assessment. And I just put a picture from 2 days ago in the Philippines to the one that they took today, and just say, you tell me if this guy doesn't color his hair. All right? It's up to you. I don't really care one way or the other. He's an idiot regardless of what color his hair is, what color his skin is, and what a color his tie is, for that matter. People like to talk about ties. Who the hell cares if you're an idiot? You're an idiot. You're just a good-looking idiot, I guess. Or you're an idiot that's dressed nicely. That kind of thing. An idiot's an idiot. So just if you want to take the time to do that, it may open your eyes to little things, and then again, it may not. So, whatever, okay? We got to go to our first break. When we come back, we'll get into today's festivities. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. I'm John Matthews, your host, along with Joe Hakos from Dry Report. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stocking. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. Since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish and get the best deal in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call Go Dish to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. Less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, and we're glad you joined us on this Friday, end of the week. And it's been a rather taxing week for me personally. I don't know what your week has been like, but it's one of those weeks where at the end of it you kind of sigh a relief and say, you know what, I got a lot done this week. That's pretty productive. I want to say something here. I had today is my gym day. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, my wife go to the gym. And I have in the past just been kind of lazy at the gym. I go out and I do I pedal the bicycle. And, just thinking, okay, I just want to burn some calories. And I was looking at myself the other night in the mirror while I was shaving, and I realized that my arms are getting a little bit flabby, and it's really noticeable because I have big arms. I probably have about 24-inch biceps from my days when I was in powerlifting, and it was really noticeable. I'm like, wow, these things are looking really saggy. So I decided today I was going to go start lifting some weights. I said, I got to get back into lifting weights and get myself toned down and everything else. I got to tell you, one, I am extremely out of shape. And two, it's going to take me a long time to get back into shape. But during the course of the day, I mentioned that because during the course of the morning, when I finally did get to the bike, and because of the time, we got to the gym late this morning, I watched The View. I watched about 20 minutes of The View.
Ooh.
And it was just, between the selection of stuff that was on the TV, since I don't speak Spanish, that eliminated about 3 of the TVs. The other one was Kathy Lee and Hoda, which I just can't stomach at all. So I'm watching The View, and these women are sitting there. Whoopi Goldberg was out today. Joey Bear was running the show. And they were talking about the Syrian refugee situation. And I have to be honest with you. I try to put myself in such a place where I say, maybe there's a reason why progressives are really as ignorant as they are. It might be hereditary. I don't know. It just might be the way you're brought up. But here's what I noticed. As they were talking about, before they got into the Syrian crisis and they were jumping around, they started talking about cyberbullying. Okay? And each one of these people on the panel had some story to relate about how they were bullied when they were growing up. And I thought, see, this is the common ground of today's liberal and progressive. Something happened to them in their childhood that they just never overcame. And so the idea is, now that I'm adult, I'm going to fix this so no kid ever gets bullied again. No kid ever gets picked on again. And it was just every single one of them on the panel had some story about being bullied when they were, I know what it was. They were talking about a city in Wisconsin that is now fining the parents. They're issuing fines if a child belonging to that parent bullies somebody at school. And so they were talking about whether that would solve problems and this, that, and the other. And it was, the answer to this is real simple. Children are the product of their environment. And if you're not teaching your child to have a little bit more respect for other people, then chances are they're not. And if you live in a home where this type of activity or this type of stuff plays out every single day in front of the child, they're going to grab that. If you're in a situation where mother and father are constantly at each other's throats and this, that, and the other, these things have an effect on kids because they're not the adults that everybody wants to make them out to be today. But I drew that parallel. I said, see, this is what's the common denominator in most progressives. They've had some incident, usually in childhood or adolescence, in which they ended up on the short end of the stick. And it has had such an effect on them that they think they need to go out and fix the rest of the world so that they feel better about what happened to them. And so I just wanted to pass that on to you because it was kind of a interesting thing today. And then they got into the Syrian refugee stuff, and they're batting back and forth about whether we should let these people in because of the compassion or, are we really worried about national security and this, that, and the other. Yeah, I turned it off. The last parting shot, though, they had a guest commentator, some girl that was on one of those sitcoms back in the 70s and 80s, the one with Bob Saget. I don't remember the name of it. And she came out and said, well, I don't know how to fix this thing, but I know we need somebody in control, so that's why I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Oh, that probably set them off.
Crickets at the rest of the table. Just crickets. It's like, what? Who invited this girl on the show?
Who let her? Yeah, who let her here? What is her? What?
If Whoopi Goldberg had been there would have been a big fight. Or if Rosie O'Donnell had been there would have been a big fight. So I was surprised Joy Behar didn't say anything. But anyway.
She's probably too drunk.
Yeah, just a lesson there. One of your liberal friends starts espousing this ridiculous progressive ideology. I know how you can stop them. what happened to you when you were a kid that makes you think the way you do today? Who whacked the hell out of you when you were in the schoolyard, you know?
It's stopping Obama. He had his lunch money taken off him every day he was in school. I guarantee it.
Well, yeah, and then, I look at people like him. John Kerry. John Kerry would have been the kid that we stuffed in the trash can in the gym every day, you know?
Yeah, and then you threw your jock straps in on him.
Oh, I know who that was. Who was the press secretary before Josh Earnest? I don't remember who it was. The kid with the glasses. The one, he came after Robert Gaines or whatever. I didn't keep track of these people.
I don't know, that lion SOB. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, well, whoever.
What do you mean?
Yeah, do you remember who the press secretary was for Obama before Josh Earnest?
Okay, hold on. You keep talking. I'll have it to you in a second.
Well, anyway, he's the guy that I'm talking about. He came after Robert Gibbs, between Robert Gibbs and Josh Earnest. And this guy was probably about as good as they come in terms of being able to lie with a straight face. Anyway, the situation, he was the one that I often commented when we talk in our circles. He was the one that we would have, wrapped up in the dirty jock and thrown in the trash cans or stuffed in the lockers. I think that this is the kind of stuff that makes these kind of guys go out and become operatives for the Democratic Party, for the Liberal Party, because they're the ones that got beat up and bullied in school.
That was Jay Carney?
Carney. That was his name. Okay, yeah. So, and so I guess the more you've been bullied and mistreated as a child or an adolescent, the higher you rise within the progressive ranks. I guess that maybe that's, I'm speculating a pattern, but I'm, hey, that's what we do. That's what I can do. I can make fun of anybody. They make fun of me. I can make fun of anybody. I don't have a thin skin. Call me what you want. I don't care, So one way or the other.
Well, come on, Josh Earnest. Come on, the Ernest. Yeah, he's a lying sack of you-know-what, and his last name is Ernest. Like, oh, trust me.
Oh, I just envision his parents they must have been elbowing each other when they named this kid. I was like, when Josh, our last name is Ernest. Hey, let's name him Josh. Boy, it's kind of like a boy named Sue, It'd
have been better off. That would be better. At least that'd be entertaining. To see these people up there absolutely lying in the face of the American public is just it's just.
I know. I think that impresses me to a great deal. That down the line, and if anybody asked me what's the one attribute of Barack Obama that you admire, I would say his ability to talk convincingly that nothing he does is wrong, even though I don't. There's nothing he says in my mind is ever right. But have you ever caught yourself, Joe, just once in a while saying, geez, I wonder if he's actually right? I mean,
who? Obama?
The guy is the most convincing liar. And if I didn't have facts and figures in front of me, if my head wasn't so filled with facts and figures and truth and understanding, I understand why a lot of people would just line up behind this guy like the Pied Piper and just follow him over the cliff.
Well, maybe so. If I had been stuck like, what's his name, Tom Hanks on that island playing with my volleyball and talking to him until I got rescued somehow and I came back to the world and that's the only thing I knew first thing, I'd say, whoa, okay, maybe, because I hadn't seen anything in 3.5 years. But no, unfortunately, I've been awake for the last for his entire term. So no, I can't accept what he's saying as the truth. Like you said, I have facts and I have common sense and I have my own eyes to see what he's been doing. So why, but some people have their heads so rammed so far up their butts that no, they don't have any facts or vision.
Well, yeah, they don't desire to know the real truth, or it's just like, hey. They look at the guy and listen to him. I mean, I think any reasonable person would say, he can't be lying all the time.
Yes, I can.
And I'm like, yeah, he can. And yeah, he does.
Yeah.
and yes, he will. You know.
And speaking of Carney, since you made me look it up, I'm just looking at this. He's married to Claire Shipman, who works at ABC News. No conflict of interest there, people. And she was a former White House correspondent. Yeah, and he's a graduate of Yale University.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you happen to see the article today? There was an article out there today. Just blew my mind when I see these things. I'm just kind of rambling here a little bit. I'm looking it up right now. It's amazing here. It was an article written about... I'll get my timeline here to load up here. There we go. There it is. Oh, come on, where is it? There it is. All right, here it is. CNN suspended a reporter for posting a less than favorable tweet about about Congress passing this issue on Syria in terms of refugees, blocking the Syria refugees from coming into the country. And she posted a tweet that said, "House passes bill that could limit Syrian refugees. Statue of Liberty bows head in anguish." Okay, so this girl, her name was Elise Labat from CNN, and they suspended her for 2 weeks for this opinionated tweet. First of all, compared to some of the other things I've heard from people in the news world, I didn't think it was that bad of a tweet myself. I would have looked at that and just kind of shrugged it off. Okay,
yeah, be kind of expected, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's the comment that the writer of this, Colin Campbell from CNN, says. The tweet prompted immediate backlash from critics who said she shouldn't have been opining on contentious legislation. All right, now listen to this next line. This will kill you.
Sports reporter?
Yeah. Unlike some of its competitors, CNN typically strives for a straight news, nonpartisan approach to its broadcasting.
Really? He should be immediately suspended for lying through his teeth.
Yeah, I'm like, man, somebody needs to wake this guy up. Say, you need to be suspended for lying. That's an outright lie.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then where did the criticism come from? Here's funny. I mean, this is a funny article. CNN correspondent lays bare bias in one easy tweet. The Washington Post media critic Eric Weppel wrote. Okay, so the Washington Post is criticizing CNN for a seemingly biased, unethical, or dishonest tweet at CNN. So Washington Post is criticizing CNN for doing the exact same thing that the Washington Post does every single day.
Yeah, it's hello pot, meet kettle. That's just ridiculous. And speaking of that bill, John, I heard that the fine senator from Nevada, Mr. Harry Reid, has said, we're not going to pick this thing up. We're not going to do anything with that bill, which made me go, well, thanks, Harry. But where the hell is Mitch McConnell on all this? Isn't he the majority leader of the Senate? Yeah. So, like I said, that bill's going absolutely nowhere.
Right. And then also today, the media is more concerned what Nancy Pelosi thinks about Barack Obama's stance than Paul Ryan. We're not hearing anything out of Paul Ryan either. And but Nancy Pelosi's got it down. Hey, the president's got it together. I'm on his side. He knows what he's doing. I trust him. Yeah, of course you would. Botox queen.
You herder of the flying monkeys, you.
Oh, anyway. Yeah, just amazing. Just amazing, man. I mean, these people are so delusional and into their own self-righteous elitist way of thinking. They don't even think what they do anymore is non-objective or unethical or whatever. It's just they've bought into that narrative that, hey, we're the good guys. We're the good guys. What they all are, a bunch of people apparently that got their asses kicked in the schoolyard when they were kids. That's what it seems like to me. Anyway, we got to go to a break.
Yes,
when we come back, we should have Robert Cardoza from Robert Cardoza Live with us doing his weekly segment. We're going to talk about Obamacare. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoza. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoza Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardozalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardozalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
We're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. You want to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can pick up all the information, all the archives of our show, anything you want to know about us, theconservativesyndicate.net. What we're going to do now is we're going to try to hook up over with Bob Cardoza over at Robert Cardoza Live. He is in the middle of his show right now. We've been doing something here, an experiment here for the last couple of weeks, where we tie into each other's live broadcast and see how that works out here. Let's see if we can get to him here. I want to get to the right one. And let's go. Let's see if it picks up here. Which one picks up here? And let's see. Well, we'll shut the other one off. I actually clicked on two numbers here just to see where we're at. And
John Matthews and Joe Hinkles. Hey guys, welcome aboard.
Hey, there he is. How you doing, my friend?
Hi. I'm good. You got a phone ringing in the background. Oh, that's gone.
Well, I got we are I'm sitting here playing around here. I actually clicked on somebody else. I hope he doesn't pick up his line.
Yeah, I did pick it up.
Oh, there he is, Bob Brander.
On my phone.
Bob Brander, I did. This is John Matthews from the Conservative Syndicate. I didn't mean to call you.
Okay.
All right.
How are you, John?
All right. Thanks a lot, my friend.
All right. Goodbye.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right. Goodbye.
Okay.
He could have been calling you.
Oh, Robert used to be one of my contributors back in the day, back when we first started out, and his name fell in right after yours, and I clicked on it without even looking at it. So anyway, yeah, he actually left the political conversation. He was getting so frustrated. He finally just one day said, "I can't do this anymore." So he just walked away from it. Anyway, we're talking, Bob, about the situation here with Obamacare. We've had several conversations, a lot of them with you on the show about.
Well, you know that it's not Obamacare. It's Obama doesn't care.
I'm sorry?
It's not Obamacare. It's Obama doesn't care.
Oh yeah, okay. And it's not the Affordable Care Act. It's the Unaffordable Care Act.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the and I have constantly echoed the fact or the belief that this thing is going to die out, that it's going to implode, that it just cannot be sustained. And your side has been, that may be, but there needs to be something done. Joe's side is that Obamacare is basically here to stay. So we kind of all have different varying views on this thing.
Well, actually, though, John, I'm more aligned with Joe than I am with you. However, when I say it's here to stay, I'm hopeful that at some point we'll get a real manager, a real executive in the White House that'll recognize that he's got to work with the Congress to fix the bad parts of Obamacare. Now that it's there and people have got it and they're going to want to keep it there, I think it needs to be tweaked. I think it can be improved. I think it can be made better and made viable. It's just we can't afford to keep it there the way it is now. But as long as Congress continues to try to shut it down, that's just not going to happen. They're just wasting time and money, and I don't get it. What they need to do is to try and figure out how to improve it.
Okay, and let me express this in response to what you just said. This, I believe, is the big problem or challenge that we have talking about a Republican stance on issues like this. The idea that somehow Congress needs to step in and fix this. They got to get their act together. They got to figure out how to make this thing work. They should have never been involved in this in the first place. Therefore, they need to get out of it. That's my position. They never should have been here in the first place. This is not a government issue. It is not something that should be even addressed by the government. This is a free market issue, and when the government steps in the free market is sacrificed. And so that's my position on this, is that Obamacare needs to die because it never should have been brought to the surface in the first place. That's where we fundamentally disagree.
Well, but you could say the same thing about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all the other social programs that are out there. And even though we call them social programs, Social Security and Medicare, we all paid for it ourselves. And so it's not really an entitlement, it's just being abused. And so that, too, is something the government should never have gotten involved in, but they did, and they saw the greater good. And the problem that I'm having is that Obamacare wasn't written by Obama. It was written by insurance companies, and that's why we're not seeing the kind of relief that should be there. And it was also written by attorneys, which is why we're not seeing the relief we should see there. If we could do something about tort law, we could put ceilings on malpractice, we could fix the malpractice insurance issues that are going on, we could allow physicians to actually practice medicine the way they were trained instead of having the CYA approach, then I think that you could see all of this settle down. There could be improvements made that would make that viable.
Okay, yeah, but see, I think that it's just a situation where all these outside forces that shouldn't have been in this in the first place need to be eliminated. In line with what you're saying with Medicare and Social Security and all these other things. We talked in depth last night about the idea here that we functioned as a country for well over 100 years without any tax code at all, no IRS. When taxes were implemented after the Civil War, it was supposed to be a temporary thing, and the government, when they get involved in temporary programs, they become permanent. So we ended up with the IRS. When we talked about Social Security, Franklin Roosevelt was very adamant when Social Security was established that it was supposed to be a temporary thing to help reestablish people being able to rebuild their economic stability. That there should be some type of deal going on here. The government's investing money, which would allow the banks to recover after the Depression and everything else, but it was to be a temporary thing. And he even referred to the fact that it should lead to individual retirement accounts. So this whole idea that the government should be involved in all this, and especially on a permanent basis, is, to me, is just ludicrous.
Well, the part that is difficult is when you look at the federal budget, 2/3 of it is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And then the rest of it, the majority of it, is actually defense. And then with what's left over is what you're supposed to run the government with, which is not really what's going on. And so what you see is a form of what in economics you call a command economy. And a command economy is an economy where the government is controlling the capitalism. It is no longer really capitalism. It's called a command economy because it's no longer supply and demand. It's no longer competition. It's now the government saying you must do this. That's the same thing that happened with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Of course, Social Security, got started much earlier, and then it was Johnson that brought in Medicare, and then Medicaid was a state issue that the feds forced on everybody. But there was all of these things were done at the times, especially during the Great Depression, where people really needed to get something put in the bank, some kind of security for themselves. And even though I agree with you, that should have been a short-term thing. The truth is if you actually created Social Security to create some funds for a retirement program for the middle class, the under and middle class workers, then I don't understand how they could have ever thought that could be a short-term issue.
Well, well, the idea being that however it evolved into this permanent entitlement program and everything else, or whatever people call it, excuse me, really kind of reflects, again, I'm trying to really kind of reiterate the idea that once government steps into something, everybody just seems to think that now it's written in stone. This is the way it should be. This is the way it's going to always be. And I just don't believe that. I think that government's function is to stay out of as many things as we can keep them out of, and not allow them to get involved in our stuff.
There's a statement that I'd like to make that I think you would agree with, and I relate it to attorneys. In my business life, I've always said to myself, if you want to really mess up a really good deal, get an attorney involved in it. Well, it's the same thing. If you want to mess up a really good deal, get your government involved in it. Neither one of them, the government is run by attorneys anyway. At least I'm going to say 85% of them are attorneys. And so, they just have a tendency to just ruin everything. Government ruins the economy. It really does. It doesn't help it. And so does the attorneys that are running the government. If we could just have people come up with good ideas, sort of like, the example would be at Microsoft or Apple. The government didn't have a doggone thing to do with that, but look what those two companies did for the economy of the United States and for technology around the world.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, I want to leave you here with a question here as we go to break. In talking about all this, what we know right now is that we have 12 of the 26 exchanges, state exchanges, either shutting down or on the verge of shutting down because they're saying this isn't happening. We can't sustain this. We don't have the money to sustain it. We have the issue with the major insurer, United Health, saying, hey, we may pull out of this thing because we're not making any money on it. The other issue that we have here is the idea that, basically the subsidies are there. Premiums are increasing. They're already reporting, doubling and tripling. Out-of-pocket costs. Those people that can afford the premiums are now complaining about out-of-pocket costs. And so we have this, to me, what it seems like the beginning of a death spiral. Now, my situation, or my question to you, and I'll leave this with you, Hillary Clinton is now out there floating in her campaign today that the answer to all this is allowing tax credits to taxpayers. So we're gonna shuffle the money. We're somehow on the books. We're gonna make it look like nobody's actually paying for anything. You pay it and then you get it back, and so that's her answer. Let's recycle it. Let's just keep recycling all the money, And so I wanted to get your opinion on that. What do you think, as somebody that understands finances? How would tax credits affect the sustaining, or would it just speed up the implosion of Obamacare? I hope I worded that right. But we got to go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation here with Bob Cardoza from Robert Cardoza Live and Joe Hakos from Dryer Report. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoza. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoza Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardozalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardozalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talks from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos from Dryer Report, and we're doing our session today, our segment today with Bob Cardoza from Robert Cardoza Live. We're going to get him back on the line here. He has to do his commercials also, so let's go. Well, he's not on here. What is he not showing up here? Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can get it back on. And we'll continue our conversation here. I'm asking Bob to comment on this situation
with Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Yeah, we're back. Okay, the question at the break was, what do you have an opinion, or are you aware of Hillary Clinton's campaign BS today, that what we need to do is we need to issue up to $5,000 tax credits to taxpayers in order to sustain Obamacare?
Well, you know what? It's a disaster if you do that. Economically, it doesn't work that way. And you've heard me talk about balanced budgets and zero-based budgeting and stuff like that. When they talk about a $5,000 credit or any tax credit, that's even different than lowering the tax rate. You know, if you lower the tax rate, that's one thing. If you give a tax credit, those are actual dollars that supersede those percentages that you talk about in lowering the tax rate. When they give the tax credit, it has an adverse effect on the economy. It's going to hurt the deficit in a very serious way, and it really can't be done that way. You know, I'm not. You know that I'm not a big proponent of Carly Fiorina, but the one thing that she does say that makes sense, and that is zero-based budgeting. And that is that, you know what, if you don't have the money, you don't have a way of getting the money, you can't spend the money. And and Hillary's talking about giving tax credits. It's got to come from somewhere. Well, you know what, It can't come from the poor people. They're not paying taxes now. It can't come from the middle class because they're already getting hurt, and they're the ones that are going to get the new tax credits, which means what? They're going to raise taxes on business. They're going to raise taxes on the affluent. It gets back into a socialistic government, and that's not what it's all about. And I don't see any incentive for people to pull themselves up from by the bootstraps and try to survive if what we continue to do is just give them everything laid out on a golden platter.
Well, yeah, the source of income that she's claiming, and again, here's the woman that keeps downplaying the concept of democratic socialism. She says that the taxes would be offset by, of course, taxing the wealthy and rebates from drug manufacturers. Now, the analogy in my head, when you talk about tax credits, and it's very simple, and you tell me if I'm right. My mother and I have this tradition that has gone back farther than I can remember. And every year on my birthday, I get a birthday card from her with $10. So every year, here I'm 61 years old, I'm still getting birthday cards with $10, okay? On her birthday, I give that $10 back. I put it in Christmas in a card, and I give it back to her. So we have, for the better part of 35 years, been giving each other this same $10 back and forth, for our birthday. And is that the equivalent to what a tax credit is like? You're paying money in, and then the government just pays you back. But the difference seems to be that those who haven't paid $5,000 into the program are getting tax credits. They're getting refunds on money that they never put in. But so that has to be coming from someplace else, right?
That's exactly right.
So this whole idea of we're going to reward, as she puts, we're going to reward the working class by giving them up to $5,000 tax credits. You're not rewarding, you're taking somebody else's money and giving it to somebody that doesn't have it.
That's exactly right. The only way they can do that, John, when they start figuring out what tax rates are going to be and what tax deductions are going to be and what allowances are going to be, what Congress does in the budgeting committee is that they work backwards and they say, okay, we're going to start off with X number of dollars. Now, if we give a tax break in a certain place, that's going to reduce those dollars that we're expecting that we're going to be to have to spend. That means that we need to pick that up someplace else. And so it's not that we can just do it. It's not like we, as long as there's checks in the book, there's money in the bank, right? Mm-hmm. So when they start doing that, they finally come up and they'll say, okay, well, an example being the mileage rate is going to, instead of being 53 cents a mile, the mileage rate is going to be 48 cents a mile. Well, it still costs you 53 cents a mile to operate that car, but the difference between the two is where they're making up the difference. So they're taking it away from the guys that would have those deductions under normal circumstances.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, Joe wanted to comment on the issue of Social Security being an entitlement. Joe, you had something you wanted to say about that.
Oh, Bob said it's no longer an entitlement. I'd like to beg to differ on that.
No, I said the saying is they don't call it an entitlement. Well, actually, here's the thing, Joe. It is an entitlement. It is not something that is given to us. What makes it an entitlement is we paid for it. They forced it. They didn't give us a choice. Absolutely. They took the money out of our checks. So it being an entitlement means, hey, that's mine.
Yes, absolutely. I paid. They made me pay it. They took it. They confiscated it. So yes, it is an entitlement. But I'd like to say this about the Affordable Care Act and all the writhing and consternation going on about how are we going to get this? How are we going to make this thing solvent? It was never solvent. It was never going to be solvent. But I would like to just think that now that we're working our way into, oh my goodness, we might have to do tax credits and this and that. I would just think that maybe they should just come to the admission that it's a failed policy and we should do without it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I want to bring up one other aspect of this, if we can. When we talk about the exchange shutting down, we talk about premiums doubling or out-of-pocket costs just rising beyond what most people can pay. And we start talking about government solutions to a government-created problem. Yeah, we're going to give the people that made the problem the authority to give us the solution to it. There's one other aspect of this thing, and I wanted to get your take on this, Bob, because I'm not real educated when it comes to Medicaid. But I'm seeing reports that saying like 70% of what people are touting as Obamacare is nothing more than Medicaid expansion. So it's not even Obamacare being involved in this.
You're right. It is an Obamacare expansion when you're talking about Medicaid, because Medicaid now is picking up the difference for those people who couldn't afford the premiums through Obamacare. And so when the states say that they're going to opt out of their systems, then the people aren't going to be without insurance, because Medicaid's going to come in, and those people will be covered under Medicaid. It'll be another extension and increase in the costs from Obamacare. And until we can get the infrastructure of that taken care of, because originally when the insurance companies actually got involved in writing these things, they wrote it assuming that they were going to get enough people that were participating in this that they could lower the costs. They also thought they could get some tort reform to help lower those costs, and then Obamacare wouldn't have been as big a burden as it's turning out to be now. But the real brains behind this thing got it wrong. And Obamacare is just it's unmanageable, and it's going out of sight, and it is going to self-destruct, but not the Obamacare. It's going to self-destruct the budget of the United States.
Right. I agree. So we'll have to leave it at that. Our fundamental difference of opinion today is whether the government can and should fix it, or whether it should die. Okay, so that's where we'll leave it.
I vote for death. It should die.
Yeah, it should die. Okay. Bob, I want to give you a moment to plug your show.
Okay, Robert Cardoza Live broadcasts Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Just go to my website, robertcardozalive.com. You'll find all the information right there, and you'll also hear me on Mondays and Fridays with John on the Conservative Syndicate from 3:30 to 4.
All right, my friend. Thanks so much for taking time out here. God bless you and your listeners.
Thank you, and the same to you.
All right, we'll talk to you next time. Okay, guys, it's time for the Edwards Notebook. We're at the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll delve into perhaps a different topic here. I want to start talking a little bit about the situation that happened over in Africa today in Mali. 100 hostages, 22 of them ended up dead, and I believe a couple of the gunmen also ended up dead. I want to talk about that. So we'll stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
It can be pretty depressing to witness more and more Americans protesting in favor of oppression and against liberty. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, when one reads the many quotes of the Founding Fathers, it is quite apparent that they were concerned about the possibility of the United States evolving from the land of the free and home of the brave into the land of the oppressed and home of the cowardly. Neither you or I can tell how many times we've heard how, according to certain polls, that Americans support gun control, transgender bathrooms, and many other wedge issues like immigration, to allegations of racism and hating poor people. Those wedge issues have a certain prominence because people have been dumbed down to a lower level of thinking politically, morally, and economically. If Americans were properly schooled on the benefits of our Constitution and economics along with virtue, I seriously doubt that the federal government would be so bloated and working to implode our nation on behalf of the United Nations and Muslims. Properly informed or schooled Americans would not entertain the foolhardy concept that one is xenophobic because they simply want people to obey our laws and immigrate into the United States legally. Also, perhaps American voters would not have twice elected an individual who literally wants to bring tens of thousands of American-hating Muslims into our country to try to change our American culture. In order to rescue the United States from utter ruin, we must make genuine efforts to teach Christian virtue, true American history, critical thinking, and real math, etc., etc., to the up-and-coming generations. If not, the United States will simply end up
slip sliding away.
I, for one, am optimistic that America the Beautiful will be great again. Our city shall once again be undimmed by human tears. She will, of course, soon reestablish a closer walk with the one who shed his grace upon her and benefit from his providential guidance. Do you believe? I'm Ron Edwards. Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
Hey, and we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Akos from Dryer Report, and I hope you enjoyed the first hour. And Joe, my arms are feeling the effects of lifting weights today. I haven't lifted weights in so long, and now I just reached up on my desk here to take something off the top level, and oh my goodness.
Well, John, all I can tell you is the way I always thought about it, that if God wanted you to lift weights, he'd have made them a lot lighter.
Well, in my party days, it was I used to always claim I lift weights, and it's never over 16 ounces.
You could use more if you use both hands.
Well, I just it's.
Are we going to talk about terrorism today here in this segment, John? I just wanted to know. Is that what we're going to do?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about,
because I want to put this out there because she is my favorite of favorites because I love her so much. I want us to remember now that Hillary Clinton said Muslims have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism. Just remember that.
Okay, yeah. Nothing whatsoever. You got it. Because anybody that's a terrorist is not really a Muslim.
No, they're just crazed lovers of unicorns, and they're upset because they no longer exist.
Well, what they are, they
exist.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're the queer genders of the religious sects. They are whatever anybody says they are, or they are whatever they say they are, or they're not anything at all. Okay? So,
yes. That's it. They're not anything. They just run around going, blah, 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 bloom, boom.
Yeah. Allah, kill. Okay, yeah, okay, no big deal. Okay.
But they're not Muslims because Hillary says they have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism. We'll have to remember that. Now, I am talking here, sometimes we end up having to go to, well, most of the time, to get any resemblance of truth outside of CNN, because we know that they don't do that. We were told that today. CNN is objective. They don't have an agenda. But outside of CNN, I usually have to go to foreign press to get any real semblance of what is actually happening with something. Okay? What we get over here is the political talking points or whatever idea or agenda or whatever they want to contribute to the narrative, as Hillary Clinton saying the terrorists have nothing to do with being Muslims. Okay, now, I've picked up this article today from the American Foreign Press, and they talk about this, 22 dead as gunmen seized more than 100 at Mali hotel, and this is in Africa, Bamako, Africa, I guess, all right? Suspected Islamic gunmen stormed a luxury hotel, I believe it was Radisson Hotel, in Mali, capital Friday. That was last Friday. Okay, so, today. I'm sorry, today.
That's today, brother.
Yeah, over there it was yesterday. Okay, so firing automatic weapons and seizing more than 100 guests and staff in a hostage-taking that has left at least 22 people dead. Now, the people involved in taking on these Islamic radicals that aren't Muslims, okay?
Nothing whatsoever.
Nothing whatsoever to do with Islam. Special forces carried out a dramatic floor-by-floor rescue at the Radisson Blu Hotel in Bamako, according to local television security sources. Okay, these special forces were Americans who happened to be there. Okay, there were some people that happened to be there, members of special forces. All right, and they went in and took this thing on. 2 U.S. Special Forces troops who happened to be at the nearby U.S. Embassy for meetings assisted in the rescue of 6 Americans. Okay, so I don't know if they just said, okay, we'll just get the Americans and let everybody else burn or whatever. But apparently the Americans now. I read this, immediately what comes to your mind, Joe, when you read about special forces going into a hotel that as hostages in a hostage situation and bringing out 6 Americans. What's the first thing that popped into your mind? Did anything pop into your mind?
The thing that popped in my mind was, why were they there to begin with?
Well, they were saying they were there because they were there for something else that was going on at a meeting at the U.S. Embassy. Okay, there's the key word. They were at a U.S. Embassy for meetings.
Now what's popping in my mind, I'm going back to 2012 in Libya.
Right, exactly. Special forces that were told to stand down and showed up anyway at the Libyan embassy trying to rescue 4 Americans. And it didn't work because there was no support. But the point being is that American forces stepped into this thing because they happened to be there. And look how quick everything came to an end. There's my point. We didn't have long, drawn-out things. Like in Paris the other night, how many of them? They had 100 hostages. I think almost half of them were killed. 40 of them or something like that?
It's funny you say that because I heard, as I was listening to another radio network this morning, and I heard some individuals say, why don't we just wait for them? We might get some intelligence out of these people if we don't wait. If we just wait them out, they're not going anywhere. We got the place surrounded. We'll just wait for them to come out, and then we'll be able to gather intel off of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I immediately went, wow, are you a dumbass? Straight up, it's like, wow, I'm glad one of those hostages isn't related to you or a friend of yours in any way, huh?
Yeah.
What makes you think they won't just start shooting those people?
Yeah. Well, that was the situation in Paris. It wasn't that. That's what caused the death. Was everybody sitting around waiting for negotiations? These people didn't go in there to negotiate. They went in there to kill people. Period.
They went in there to die. They were willing. They were going to die. They knew it was basically a suicide mission, and they didn't care. And they just wanted to take as many with them as they could.
Exactly. So,
but we have people out there with that train of thought, and it's just like, wow, you are the people that when the Tyrannosaurus Rex came and wanted to chop off your neighbor's head, you stood and watched him going, well, he won't be as hungry next time because he's going to pass me up, and stood there and watched.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
We're in our short segment here. We got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about this situation because there's things to draw from this.
I got numbers, brother. I got numbers.
Yeah, so stay with us, guys, right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoza. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoza Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardozalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardozalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm John Matthews, your host, along with my co-host and partner in crime in the eyes of a liberal, Joe Hakos from Dreyer Report. And we're talking about the situation over in Africa that took place today, Friday. 22 people killed, 100 people taken hostages. Now, I'm getting more details here.
Details?
Yeah, details as to how the rescue operation was carried out.
Hey, check this out, John, so we can get back to this. Having nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism, the Al Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb reported that they claimed they were responsible for the attack.
Okay, all right. Now,
Islamic group having nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism took responsibility for it.
Okay, all right. Now, so we got Al Qaeda trying to, I guess, one up ISIS. Which now the question is what's ISIS going to do to try to one up Al Qaeda? But details in the rescue thing here. I want to make it plain because Joe was asking, we said that we had American Special Forces went in and rescued 6 Americans. And I was thinking in my mind, well, what about everybody else? Okay. What they're reporting here is that French Special Forces, along with Malayan security sources are telling us French Special Forces went in alongside of Malayans. I guess that would be like the police force there. And they went in conducting floor-to-floor searches in order to, flush everybody out. So apparently now the hotel has been secured, but the same question, what are French Special Forces doing there?
Well, the French have been in the country for a long time, I believe, John.
Okay, yeah. Is it like a French territory?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe they've...
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
they've always had a presence there, and I think that's what causes a lot of this angst and grief against them.
Okay, so now as everybody tries to figure out whether there's a link, perhaps that's the link. Which kind of brings up another question, if we're going to speculate here. Is Al Qaeda working with ISIS? Or, are they like frenemies? Who knows?
Well,
who knows?
No, but if they're Muslims, they have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Right. So, they'd be kind of like, are the Baptists conspiring with the Presbyterians to make sure that all homosexuals burn in hell? I'm throwing things off the top of my head here as they're coming to me.
Have security force?
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to draw parallels as to how the media reports things and how people actually see this stuff, depending on how it's being reported. That's what I'm getting at here. The idea, as you're saying, I'm trying to play off your statement here that Hillary Clinton has already verified for us, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Islamic terrorists have nothing to do with Islam. Okay?
That's correct, according to Hillary Clinton.
Right. And
she would know because she was eminently involved in the attack or the events or the setback in Benghazi where we lost our 4 Americans there due to a video.
Well, I'm surprised she's not telling us that she was there at the attack. Her and Brian Williams were actually there. And
she might have been. She might have been attached to a drone watching it live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And along that line here, just offshoot here, we're talking about Hillary Clinton just for a second here. Did you see the report that Human Abed, the one of the staff members that's being investigated?
Huma Abedin?
Yeah.
Yes, Huma.
Okay. And they found an email, apparently one or more emails, where she is sending emails to Hillary's staff, making sure that they understand that Hillary needs to be briefed beyond what she gets in emails because she's often confused.
Oh, absolutely! I did see that. That does not surprise me. Hillary's confused because she understood that Huma is a operative for the Muslim Brotherhood. She might rethink her statement about Muslims having nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Well, here we are with all this situation, and here's kind of where I want to go with this. Joe and I were talking by the phone, and I'm in the early stages of research here, so don't take anything that I'm saying at this point as written in stone. But I know I've looked at it close enough now that I think we need to at least entertain the idea that beyond all the rhetoric and beyond all the talk, beyond all the claims, all the arguments, all the debates, everything else that's going on, legislation, the whole 9 yards, the big question here is, has Obama's foreign policy hurt or helped the terrorist cause? Now, we here at the Conservative Syndicate can answer that in one word: yes. Okay, his lack of leadership his inability to call things as they are, his unwillingness to recognize that the religion he calls one of the greatest religions in the world is actually not one of the well, it may be one of the greatest religions in the world in terms of getting its followers to do whatever they want.
At the end of a knife or a sword or a gun.
Yeah. So I just happened to ran across an article today. Well, it's in this article I'm reading right now from the American Foreign Press. And they had referenced in here, they had given a map of terrorist attacks in Mali, in Africa. And this chart is from 1990 to 2000, let's see, 11, 12, 13, to 2014. From 1990 to 2014. A number of terrorist attacks just in Africa. Okay? And I'm going to share those figures with you real quick here. But what it also did was it linked me to a site that actually tracks terrorist activity and gives statistics from 1970 on in terms of the number of attacks in the world considered terrorist attacks, where they occurred, who was involved, all this other. So we got about close to 50 years here, 45 years of tracking of terrorist attacks by this one particular website. And I was just amazed at it. But what I want to do to kind of get you in line with what I'm saying here is to talk about this website, but these statistics right here, okay? In relation to what happened in Africa. In 1990, the number of attacks, they don't really show the actual number. Oh, there it is. Number of attacks in 1990, 1 or 2 attacks, okay? Throughout the year 1990, about 15, looks like 15 attacks, 15 terrorist attacks in Mali, Africa. In 1995, about 20, okay? In 1997, very few, 5. 2000 up to 2005, virtually nothing. In 2008 or 2007, the year Bush left office, or his last year in office, 5 attacks in Mali, 10 attacks in 2007. In 2009, 6 attacks. 2010, 2 or 3. But check this out. 2012, 2013, and 2014. 2010, 11, 12. 2012, 15 attacks. 2012 was the year that Barack Obama was reelected. 2013, 58 attacks. 2014, 68 attacks. So from Obama's second term to today, the number of attacks have multiplied by 500%. Now, the question needs to be asked here, that's what we're floating the idea, that's what we're speculating here about. Is Obama responsible for the increase in these attacks?
Well, I don't know. Here, let me try to help you make this point a little bit clearer, John, with less numbers. And I'm getting this from the Global Terrorism Database, okay?
Okay, great.
All right, and this is for Mali. Between 1990 and 2014, Mali experienced 199 terrorist attacks, which killed a total of 725 people. That included 178 perpetrators. The majority of these attacks, which is 70%, took place between 2012 and 2014. 70% took place between 2012 and 2014. I think that's where you were trying to get to.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Because this is when Obama started coming out with this really half-assed foreign policy.
We had the red lines being drawn and everything, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and nothing being done.
Yes. So this preliminary data for the first 6 months of this year indicates that 77 terrorist attacks were carried out in Mali, killing 154 people, including 48 of the perpetrators. So I think we're seeing a definite increase in this attack. And how much time we have? We still have some time. So let's talk about this. Targets of terrorism in Mali were most frequently Malians, 62%. However, 1/3 of the attacks targeted United Nations, 6% targeted French targets, and 2% other nations, including Algeria, Chad, Niger, and Switzerland. Now, the single deadliest attack in Mali since 2012 took place in 2014 when assailants, and I want you to dwell on these numbers here, when assailants opened fire on the office of the regional governor in Kindau, 8 soldiers, 8 civil servants, and 28 assailants were killed, and 91 others were wounded, including 62 assailants. In addition, 32 civil servants were abducted and released within 2 days. The Answad National Liberation Movement claimed responsibility for this attack and indicated that it was carried out in response to the government's lack of commitment to peace talks. Now, let's remember, I don't think people even know where Mali's at. Did you know where it's at?
Oh, no, I have no idea.
Okay, Mali is west of Niger. It's on the southwestern border of Algeria. This is Africa, people, okay? So you understand what continent we're on.
Right.
Okay, so it's basically on the western part of Africa, a little bit on the inland part. That's where Mali's at.
Okay,
and
well,
so,
I do know this. I do know this from people that I know that do missionary work over in Africa, over in Ghana. And countries like...
it's north of Ghana. It's north of Ghana.
Okay. Liberia and some of those other little nations that are north of Ghana have had the largest influx of Islam influence. In fact, one of the missionaries that I know, he works over in Ghana on a regular basis. Whenever he's over here in the States, he reports to us everything that's going on. And Islam is it's taking over it's taking over the continent of Africa. And so the idea here that this is another. We're worried about Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and all these other places. Africa is a pretty big place.
Yes, it is. It's quite large, actually.
And if you can set up some bases over there, wow, what kind of damage can you do? The idea that somehow we've contained them. Okay, so we contained them maybe. Let's give Obama the benefit of the doubt. We've contained them in Iraq. Okay, so what?
Looks like they've maybe moved, and it looks like they really started to show their muscle, in the late 2012. It's crazy. I love how this is it. From 2012 to 2014, 14% of all terrorist attacks in Mali involved hostages or kidnapped victims, and yet this idiot wanted them to just wait them on out. They'll come on out when they get hungry.
Well, now I want to take this a little bit in a little bit different direction, and not in a different direction, but I want to reiterate. Joe's talking about just what's going on in Mali. And I did that because I wanted to get to the big picture. This website, Global Terrorism Database. It's called the Global Terrorism Database. And I think I'm actually going to put this link up on our website so that people can find it. This is a fascinating website. And I'm looking at dates. And let me just really give you some quick numbers here. From 2005 to 2008, the average number of terrorist attacks, what they categorized as terrorist attacks throughout the world, averaged 400 to 500 a year. Okay? I'm sorry, averaged 400 to 500 a month. All right? Now, we get up into 2012, and let me give you some of these numbers, and it matches perfectly what we were just saying about Mali. 2012, all of a sudden, the number of terrorist attacks jumped up to between 8 and 825 a month. And now, when we look at 2014, just last year, we find that what's happened is the number of terrorist attacks around the world is averaging 1,600 a month, peaking in July of last year at almost 1,800 terrorist attacks. It's tripled since 2012. Now, we just showed you we took you down, we gave you a microcosm here in Mali. The number of attacks that have increased. Joe gave you the numbers here. How many people have died, how many attacks, how they've increased, everything else. Now we're looking around the world, and we're seeing these numbers triple since 2012, from an average of 500 to almost 1,800 a month. Okay, those are big numbers. Now tell me, with all those numbers, that we in America, that our odds of not being hit with terrorist attacks like this is small.
Oh, yeah. Sure, it won't happen here. It's just amazing, John, that this is happening like that. I thought we had this stuff contained.
Yeah, and I know you guys out there that don't agree with us, you liberals out there think that we're fear-mongering, okay? Yeah, we are. I think you should be afraid. I think you should be worried.
So,
because the people that are running our government don't seem to give a rat's ass one way or the other. All they're worried about is bringing in more undocumented people, I guess, to turn into Democrats. Because they can't get their redistricting done fast enough. So let's just fill them up with people that'll vote for us just because we give them everything. So
our liberal friends, let me leave them with this. Our friend Aristotle, way back in the day, look him up. You can find him somewhere in some encyclopedia somewhere. Tolerance and apathy are the last virtues of a dying society. Is that what you want? A dying society? Because that's what you're going to bring us with your apathy and tolerance.
Right. We got to go to break. It's time for Moments of Madness. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today on Moments of Madness. Recent revelations regarding the sexting scandal at a Colorado high school has set the PC police on full force alert, complete with APBs claiming those responsible for providing tools by which students can be exploited for profit need to be found and prosecuted. Investigators are saying at least 100 students at Cannon City High School in Colorado use ghost apps to share and store hundreds of nude and semi-nude pics with each other, including students as young as 13. Students involved in the case could face possible charges of possessing and distributing child pornography. Ghost apps, or hidden apps, that disguise themselves as simple things like a calculator but allow its user to open secret vaults by entering a code, allowing the user to store pictures, videos, and personal information, are becoming more and more popular among youth. So much so, the numbers being touted by applications like Snapchat is quickly approaching Facebook's nearly 8 billion views of posted visual content. But there's more for the PC police to be concerned about. Cannon City High School is not alone. Reports from schools in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Tennessee have recently reported similar cases. In fact, it is believed that every public school across the country has some degree of sexting occurring among their student body. Here's the madness. Why in the world is anyone surprised at this? Through legislation, we now encourage our children to explore their gender identity in kindergarten, have made lawful co-ed bathrooms and showers in order to pander to self-esteem issues, glorify rappers who demean women while idolizing the likes of Beyonce and the Kardashians as role models, and even teach kids it's okay to flip the bird if it's for a good cause. We defend gang thugs who murder and wreak havoc in our streets as victims of society while remaining silent when law enforcement agents are the ones victimized by these same thugs. And even rationalize killing the unborn at a rate of 1 million a year is conducive to women's health. And we are shocked at the actions of today's kids who fraternize via their phones rather than face-to-face because such interaction might make them feel bad about themselves. But hope is on the horizon. Necessity, the mother of invention, has spawned yet another app, one that promises to solve a problem with a Band-Aid rather than a cure. An application that now allows parents to monitor their kids' cyberspace interactions is available to curtail children's exposure to sexuality at such a young age. The PC police can breathe easily once more, knowing that the same technology that exploits our children will now save them. What we need is an app that monitors parents' apathy regarding the continued glorification of promiscuity and disrespect for authority. But the PC crowd would certainly take exception to that because it would require placing responsibility and accountability where it belongs, in their own hands, absent any ghost app to hide their own sin. Wait, we have that already. It's called the Bible. By the way, they make apps for that also. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, my co-host. And we've been talking about the Syrian refugee thing and just in the big picture, terrorist attacks as a whole. And one of the things that we're noting here is the increase in the number of terrorist attacks around the world. And in fairness, I had somebody tweet me something or actually send me a comment. And in fairness, as I said at the beginning of this thing, I'm in the early stages of looking at this. Yes. I haven't gone into all the data and all the demographics and all the charts and everything. I'm just looking at the big picture right now. The number of terrorist attacks around the world has tripled since Barack Obama's reelection in 2012. Now, I was reprimanded by one of my listeners.
Yes.
Who said, well, not all those attacks are from Muslims. And I would say, you may be correct.
Yes, you may be right.
You may be right. And as we get more into this, we'll make that determination.
But I'm telling you right now, the numbers I gave you were from Muslims.
Oh, okay. So the numbers you were giving
Muslims.
Okay, are Muslim attacks.
Sorry, that's just a fact. And if you think this is some right-wing nut job think tank, no. This is from START, which was by the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology Director's Office of the University Programs, all right, through an award number. I'll give you the number if you want to look it up. But I don't think so. If you doubt what I said, look it up. START.
Right.
It's this. Come to his defense when he needs it. Really, when he's right, we'll say he's right. But he's not been right for a long time. So I don't care.
Yeah,
right,
and it's funny.
Wrong.
One other listener responded to the fact that this isn't actually the result of Obama's policies. This is the outcome of Bush's policies. Blame it on Bush. It's Bush's fault what Obama's doing. Understanding, of course, that when Bush was in office, there were no reported terrorist attacks that I can remember. Whether it was here in the United States or anywhere else, we didn't have terrorist attacks here. And very few instances where things were going on to this degree overseas.
70% between 2012 and 2014. Hello.
Yeah. So if you want to defend him, that's fine. I'm not at this stage, like I said, where from my perspective, right now, I'm simply speculating. I'm saying the numbers indicate that there's a pattern here. Now, where the pattern developed and how it's being put into place, I've got to spend some time researching. I found this site today, and the thing that stuck out to me first was that the number of attacks around the world, on the big picture, around the world, whether or not they were Muslim initiated or carried out by Muslims, the number of terror attacks in the world has increased.
Thank you.
Okay? That's all I'm saying at this point in the game. And as we dig more into the data, we'll be able to determine whether the majority of these attacks are from Muslims or are they a mix or whatever. The point being is that terrorists seem to someplace have figured out that they can do what they want to do.
Well, they're going to at least try to get away with it and attack. And yes, a lot of these perpetrators are killed themselves, but they go in knowing they're going to die. I'm sorry. I do recall Al-Qaeda's on the run. Remember that?
Yeah.
GM's alive.
Yeah.
Oh, Bin Laden's dead. GM's alive. Al-Qaeda's on the run. Really? They're not on the run.
Well,
they're detained.
No, because here's an important point. Let's bring this up here, guys. This needs to be discussed because this is this one thing, and I think it's a reason why Islam has been able, or the Islamic radicals have been able to expand their reach and influence and do it pretty much undetected until something happens. The concept or the belief that everything that happens in the terrorist community is the result of some association with bin Laden is probably the biggest lie on the same level as climate change being man-made. The idea that bin Laden is the mastermind behind all terrorism that's out there. Let's get some things clear here. The reason why terrorist cells are able to function is that they have their own, each cell has its own infrastructure. And although there may be some that were in communication with bin Laden, and there may be some that are in communication with other leaders, but these people fracture off of each other and they create their own little dynasties. They create their own infrastructure. So there's nobody really taking any orders from one command center. They're just out there doing it because they have their command center. It's Allah. Okay, each one picks up the Korah, and let's use an analogy. Let's use a comparison. How many Christian organizations or churches do we have in the country today? I can tell you how many different churches there are. Different churches in America today. Over 4,000. 4,000 that claim one version or another and form their doctrine from the Bible. It's the same thing with terrorism. These people can all read the Quran and interpret it whatever way they want to. And from that, they build their little coalitions and they create their movements. And then they get their funding and they go out and they do their work. So this idea that, okay, we crushed bin Laden and therefore Al-Qaeda was decimated, obviously that's not true. Al-Qaeda is alive and well. The idea that we blow up a few targets in Syria, bombing the hell out of them over there or whatever, all of a sudden we've got the JV team ISIS contained. We've contained them. No, that's not true either. I doubt anybody even knows how many ISIS cells are out there or how many Al-Qaeda cells are out there or how many, whatever cells are out there. These people are all over the place. They're in every country, every nation. They're sitting out there, just each one of them planning their own little version of jihad.
Well, let's just play this game. Do you think the world is safer now with Barack Obama in charge for the last 8 years, or would it be safer before he got in charge?
Well, let me give you an answer. Let me because it's a valid question, and I think the answer is pretty self-evident myself. Let me go back to watching The View this morning. And these women they're all, I don't know what they do in New York. I guess all they do is work during the day and go to plays at night. 3 of the 5 people on this panel this morning all went to a play last night in New York, one play or another. Not the same play, different plays, Broadway kind of thing, right? And all 3 of them were commenting about how all through the night they were sitting there in the theater looking around, fearful, cautious, wondering if something was going on. See, that's the narrative. And they say, we're the fearmongers. We're out there telling them, hey, look, this stuff exists. And it's here in America, it just hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened to the degree. We haven't had 7 cafes blown up and a concert taken over and 100 hostages killed or anything like that yet. Okay, because I think what's going on over in France and some of these other countries is practice. I think it is the JV team trying to get up to varsity. Okay, so the idea here is that the very people that are in the same sentence, I listen to each one of these people talk about, we can't let fear-mongering get to us. We can't be fearful. We have to live our lives. We have to prove to these people that we're not afraid. Oh, by the way, I was at a play last night, and I kept looking around wondering if somebody was going to blow the place up.
Yeah, and and then they'd be wondering, well, what could I have done if someone would have came in, and what would I have been able to do? Well, that idiot over there in Colorado when he came into the theater, why do you think he picked a theater to go into? Yeah. Gee, I don't know. Is it because it was a gun-free zone? He knew there'd nobody be in there shooting back at him? Yeah, it would be comical if it wasn't so pitiful that in a matter of a few minutes that you have a progressive speaking, and then in the midst of all this, well, we can't show our fear. We got to be strong. We got to be united. By the way, I was fearing for my life last night when I was in a off-Broadway theater production, but we really need to be compassionate and let the refugees in. Yes, so let them in so we can continue to be. So they bitch and moan about the solution, the common sense solution that you have for it. They don't want to hear that. They want to go ahead, well, let's just let them in and see what happens. Yeah.
Because that's what we are as Americans. That's what we are as Americans.
That's not what we are.
We tolerate terrorism because that's the American way. We're compassionate to everybody. Well, we got to go to commercial here. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion here. It's Friday here at the Conservative Syndicate, and we're glad you took the time to join us. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hagos from Dry Report. I do want to remind you to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and pick up this show or any of our shows. You can download them. You can do whatever you want with them. We just ask that you keep our statements in context, although if you're a liberal, you don't know what context means, so we can deal with that too. But you can find out anything you want to know about the show, our panel members. It's all there. We're front and center. We're open. We're transparent. And so go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. I want to close the show today with a little bit of comic relief. And I want to talk about...
Unfortunately, it's comic relief, yes.
Okay. Actually, I think perhaps some of these people that are running on the GOP ticket should have a comic relief concert. Maybe they'd be able to raise more money because they'd be much more in their environment where they belong. And this has to do with, of course, Donald Trump once again being insulted or attacked. And, you know, the way he responds is he just kind of goes ballistic on people until they either squirm or fade away or whatever. The numbers, by the way, I saw some numbers today that showed that right now, Trump is still in the lead, or he's back in the lead in some of the polls. Carson has dropped some numbers, but Ted Cruz is coming up real fast. In some of these polls, Ted Cruz is at number 2 right now. So that's, as we said, that Cruz is just kind of cruising along. He's doing this cruise thing, and he's just slowly building a coalition and following, which is the way a campaign should be. Anyway, apparently John Kasich has been selected by the GOP establishment to perform the latest attacks on Donald Trump and try to take Donald Trump down. And I'm looking at an article here that came out today, Business Insider by Colin Campbell. And it says that Politico reported that a pro-Kasich super PAC, I didn't even know Kasich had a super PAC, but apparently he does.
They all have super PACs.
Okay, so Kasich super PAC was planning to unload $2.5 million in media stuff to take down Trump in New Hampshire. He's going to try to take Trump on in New Hampshire through media barrage, $2.5 million worth. Okay, this prompted a dozen tweet barrage by Trump against Kasich, ripping the PAC's attack as pathetic and calling the governor a dud over the report, among many other things. I want to do negative ads on John Kasich, but he is so irrelevant to the race that I don't want to waste my money. That was Trump's response. Watch Kasich squirm. If he is not truthful in his negative ads, I will sue him just for fun. Okay? Now, here's what I want to bring up here. He goes on to say, apparently the billionaire took the threats to Twitter. The super PAC is New Day for America. He comes out and he says, it's come to my attention that you plan on producing and disseminating certain radio, television, and newspaper advertisements directly and personally attacking my client, Trump's lawyer, Alan Garten, wrote in a letter, which is also addressed to the Kasich campaign. Please be advised in the event your ads contain any false, misleading, defamatory, or otherwise tutorious statements or representations concerning Mr. Trump's business or his brand, we will not hesitate to seek immediate legal action. Please be guided accordingly. Now, here's my point. One, we all know Kasich is irrelevant. Okay? There's no doubt about that. He's as irrelevant as Jeb Bush is.
He's there for one reason only. The GOP establishment thinks that Kasich will bring Ohio to their coffers, and so he's there for that reason only. And he can do that without doing what he's doing now.
Right, and that's exactly the point I wanted to make. Whether or not Kasich, whether or not Bush, whether or not Chris Christie, whether or not Rand Paul, whether or not, well, I'll leave Rand Paul out of this little collection,
Yes,
or Lindsey Graham or any of the other ones out there like this, the establishment elites, whether or not these people are relevant in terms of their candidacy, they are not irrelevant in terms of the GOP's strategy to try to take down the people that are leading in the polls with the hopes of only one of these irrelevant people will be the ones left standing. That's the point here. Kasich remain, and we've been asking this question, and we asked this question several times over the last few weeks. Why are these people still in the race? If they're down there in the asterisk, why is Lindsey Graham, who doesn't even register on a seismic scale at all, he's an asterisk in the poll numbers, why is he still in the race? Well, because what it does is it allows him to still get in front of the media. When this Paris attack happened, when the Syrian refugee situation manifested itself to the fullness that it did a couple of weeks ago, why is it that the media went to ask Lindsey Graham what should be done about it? This guy is so irrelevant, it's not even funny. It's a joke. And I guess the only way he keeps his sense of stature is by the number of bottles of wine that he consumes in an evening while he's watching the debates. Because he said, as I drink more wine, the debates get better. Okay? Well, maybe you should do that before you go on stage. Whatever. Maybe he does. I don't know. But here's my point. These people are being left in the race for the purpose of two things. The media can use them for sound bites, and it is a type of conduit by which the media or by the elitists can funnel money to try to take down people like Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz. Even Carly Fiorina, I guess, would fall into that category at this point in the game. And obviously, everything we've talked about, the splitter strategy and everything else that's going on, and how redistricting, all these tactics, everything that's going on out there is for the purpose of trying to put in front of us another candidate, come election time, we're standing around choosing between the lesser two evils. I don't know how anybody in the GOP establishment can look at somebody like a Jeb Bush at this point in the game and say, this is still our guy. And if he were to win the primary, he would do well against Hillary Clinton.
Come on now.
I mean,
I
come
don't
on.
get that either, man. Let's look at exclamation point's last name. And I've been saying it for 3 years. It's not going to work because of that.
Yeah.
His last name is Bush, for crying out loud. We're not going to elect another Bush.
Yeah, but the point being is that these guys are so lost in their illusion and their delusion that the way they've been doing things is the way it needs to continue to be done at the expense. How does anybody think that in a Jeb Bush Hillary Clinton matchup that Bush would come out on top?
See, that's my point. They don't care about winning. It's not about winning the election.
Well,
it's not about winning the election, John. All they want to do is be able to win and keep and maintain their power base. They don't care about winning an election.
So we're just saying, okay, so it comes down to they each want their own power base. They don't really care about anything else.
Absolutely. It ain't about winning the election. It's about keeping their power base, keeping their power. Whatever perceived power they have, that's all they worry about. They're not worried about it. The elites, the elected, the Karl Roves of this campaigns, they don't care about that. That's why they're coming out with all this silliness, this broker convention thing. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I just find it, like I said, comedic. To me, it's like comic relief that the class clowns are running the show. And who's going to take this kind of stuff seriously?
Well, what's really sad is Trump goes out and does this, and it really this is why people don't take him as serious as being presidential enough, because it's like, look, you have to be a little more thick-skinned about this. I mean, he could have had his lawyer send out the letter. That's a brilliant move, as far as I'm concerned. That puts him on notice. Go ahead and try this crap. I'm going to sue the pants off you. Fine, and I got the cash to do it and campaign against you. But it's all the tweets and everything he sends out. That's the stuff that's foolishness.
Yeah. Well, folks, we are out of time, and we're going to close the show down now. We'll be back on Monday at 3 o'clock out here in the West Coast, 6 o'clock out on the East Coast. Want you all to have a good weekend, and just think good thoughts. I mean, this is far from over. This is America, for crying out loud. We've overcome, well, I don't know if we've overcome worse things than this, but we've certainly overcome some bad things.
And we can do this, too.
So anyway, God bless you all. Visit our website at theconservativesyndicate.net. And as now becoming our tradition, we're going to close with Raise 'em Up, and we'll talk to you next week. God bless you all.
God bless you.
Guide me to who you want me to help. Raise up more that will call upon your name. Raise up those that love you and seek you and trust you. Raise them up, Lord. Raise them up. Lord, we need a generation of believers who are not ashamed of the gospel. We need an army of believers, Lord, that hate to be lukewarm and will stand on your word above all else. Raise them up, Lord. Raise them up. I pray for unity among those that love you. I pray that you open their eyes so that they can see your truth, Lord. I pray for your hand of protection and guidance. Raise up a generation, Lord, that will take light into this world, that will not compromise when under pressure, that will not cower, Lord, when others fall away. Raise them up, Lord, that they will proclaim that there is salvation in the name of Jesus Christ. Raise up warriors, Lord, who will fight on their knees, who will worship you with their whole hearts, Lord. Lord, call us to battle, that we may proclaim you King of kings and Lord of lords. I pray these things with all my heart. Raise them
tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.